am super casual today, people. And I am coming in hot. Do you know what that means? It means where you've just like, you've had a life. You take the staple out of that for me. Take my staple out of me. Right there. I get you. Where you've had a life. So I have actually not spoken at anything since I spoke at Breathe last year. Not because I haven't been asked, but because I was kind of having a little bit of an identity crisis, if you want to know the truth. And luckily, I am so blessed to have two of the most persistent friends on the planet, in Jen and Shar, saying, no, Wendy, it's going to be fine. It's going to be good. Here was my identity crisis. I speak at these conferences, right? And I'm always up here with like pastors who seriously, they can pull the Bible references right down from sweet Jesus himself, I swear. Okay? And it was really intimidating because that's not me. And so when Jen and Shar were persistent, thank you, Jen and Shar, for being persistent, I really had to think about that. I had to have a moment with that. And then this is what I decided. I'm going to show up today in the way that God put my feet, right? So I'm a therapist. That's what I am. I'm not a pastor. So I don't have a biblical reference for everything I say. And if you know me well, you know that my brain kind of flits around sometimes, here and there and everywhere. And so finding biblical references for me is something I have to like go do. My brain doesn't memorize things well. Anybody else have a brain that just like doesn't memorize stuff well? Yeah. If you've ever been in my office with me, you'll know like what I do is like just super organic. Like I'm just right there in the minute with you trying to figure life out too. So I'm appreciative for my friends because now I'm like, I can just show up as me. Because the way God put me together is to be a therapist. And I'm telling you, ladies, when your feet finally land where it is that you are supposed to be, it is like the most beautiful thing in the world. But my life did not get there without a whole lot of pain. And so I am super pumped to be here. I'm excited about this message I have for y'all. Hopefully it's going to resonate with some of you. I talk very quickly. I apologize for that in advance. And it's Friday, and I'm a therapist just coming back from vacation. So I have had so much caffeine. So if you need to be like, just slow it down, Wendy. It's okay, I will. So welcome, Breathe 2024, right? Yes. Who loves this time, right? Jen and her girls put on the best parties. They really do. I would love Jen to plan all my parties always. She thinks of all the best little details. So, and then after me is my bestie, my sister from another mister. Is that what it is? I don't know. Shar Pittman, who's one of my best friends. I'm lucky to have her in my life. So this whole weekend is going to be based around the parable of the sower. I'm a girl that loves words. I have learned in my life that my words are my art or my tool. I write poetry, if you've ever read any. I don't send it to many people, but I do write it. So I'm going to start out just by reading the parable because I'm going to go straight, a lot of metaphors. And if you haven't read this in a while, you're going to be like, what's she talking about? So I want to keep you up with me. So it's the parable of the sower, which I think is Matthew 13. Yes? See how I look at Shar? Like, right? I'm right? Okay. So the same day that Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake, such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while all of the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. And as he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Who does not want to have a crop 100 or 60 or 30 times what was sown? I do. I want a big old crop. When I die, I want a big old crop behind me. It's the only thing that's going to be ours after we die is the impact we've had on people. That's it. Anybody ever cleaned out someone's house after they've died? That stuff's gone in like 2 days, right? The only thing that's going to be mine is the impact I've had on people. And this is what I know. You're in the women of influence section, right? So you either are a woman of influence or you want to be a woman of influence, right? So if there's something in your life and God has put a desire in your heart for something and you are still not being chosen to be the leader, it's because there's still some work for you to do in the hallway. Whenever I'm standing in front of a door and God has said, this door is yours, Wendy, and I'm knocking on that door, it's usually because there's still work I need to be doing in the hallway. And when that door finally opens, then I'm ready for that next thing, right? So if you want to be a woman of influence, you want to be a leader and you're not, I would tell you, ask yourself, what am I supposed to be doing in this hallway? So I'm going to finish reading. The disciples came to him and asked, why do you speak to people in parables? He replied, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even when they have, will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I will heal them. But blessed are your eyes, because they see, and your ears, because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is one who produces a crop yielding 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Personally, I love it when Jesus speaks in parables. I love poetry, metaphors. I like thinking in general. So I love all the imagery here, right? I love the image of the Holy Spirit, like casting seeds, right? Seeds of what? Faith, hope, inspiration, new thoughts, conviction, love, acceptance, courage, right? So ladies, how's your soil? That's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about your soil. And we all need to start right here with my soil. Too many people, honestly, attend these kind of events, and this is what they think. They think, I got to go home and tell Mildred she has got to listen to this podcast of that because that was meant for her. Oh my gosh, my mother-in-law, if she would just get her soil right, she'd be so much easier to have a relationship with. She really needs to listen to Wendy's talk. Okay? This is what I know. Any revelations that I have from God are always first for me. They're always first for me. So anything you're going to hear the next 2 days, I would tell you to first let it plant itself in your soil before you start saying to somebody else, hey, I think you need this seed in your soil. This is what I know. I live my life from me out. I am the soil of my life. My mind is the soil of my life. My heart is the soil of my life. I am responsible for this soil. I need to know what's in my soil. I make the choices about my soil, right? My mom is a master gardener. Shout out to Barb, who's in Florida. She's at the beach right now. It's 86. Okay, just so you know. My mom is always amending the soil. when she's planting stuff. She looks at the dirt and she says, oh, I need to sift some of this out. I need to take out some rocks, or I need to add in more peat moss. I don't know what peat moss is, but it's called peat moss. Or the pH balance is wrong, or something is wrong. Wouldn't it be nice if our hearts and our minds were just that easy to examine and that easy to change? Wouldn't it? Because here's the thing, in my office, that's all I do, is I just examine soil. A lot of the times, the people in my office who are there saying they want to change, they change, they find peace and happiness and contentment, but that doesn't mean that the rest of their life changes. The people in their life are still just as difficult. So your soil is made up of every experience you have ever had, every thought you have ever believed, every resentment and disappointment that you still hold on to, every emotion you didn't express, every desire in your heart, the good and the bad, every unmet expectation. That's all that's in your soil. Expectations are tricky things. Personally, I try not to have any at all. Any AA people will maybe have heard the slogan, the loss of expectations is the quickest way through hell. This tactic of having no expectations has probably brought me the most calm in my life. I show up every day, and I give my day over to God's direction. My favorite saying lately has been, Lord, the sun or the rain falls on my hands today, I'm here. That's it. I showed up. That's all I can do. And I might show up on Tuesday better than Friday, but I'm showing up. Christians have a lot of expectations that are very faulty. People believe that since they gave their life to Christ, that all good things should now happen. And when they don't happen, we are mad at God. Or when bad things happen, we're mad at God because we think, I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing all the things, right? All the checklists. I'm going to church. I'm in my quiet time. I'm a good person. So my life should be great. I shouldn't have any troubles. That's our expectation, right? But what does God tell us? I did actually get some Bible verses in here. Just saying. God tells us in John 16:33, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I've overcome the world. 1 Peter 5:7, casting all your cares, your anxieties, your worries upon him, for he cares about you. So what is God saying in that? He's saying that here we will have worries. We will have anxieties. We will have troubles. Stop expecting that these things of the world won't happen to you, because they will. Death will happen. Disease will happen. Divorce, betrayal, lies, they will all happen. I have had all of these things happen to me, a few of them more than once. This is what I know. From pain comes wisdom. It is what you do with these things that matters. Are you going to let it sit in your soil? You're going to let it ruin all the good stuff? Become so hard that nothing grows? Are you going to give it to him? Let him teach you from it. Are you going to let it go? We become angry at God because we believe he is letting it happen. Here is what I know. You're going to hear that a lot. Here's what I know. Because this is what I know. 30 years of being in people's pain. I know some stuff just from that. Okay? Here is what I know. There is a lot about what God does that I don't understand. And here's the thing. He doesn't have to explain it to me. He does not owe me an explanation for the choices that he has made. He doesn't. I'm not always meant to understand it. The Holy Spirit reveals to me what I need to know to manage what is happening to me. But God does not owe me an explanation or a perfect life. He tells me very clearly, I am not going to have that because I am in a lost and fallen world. Expectations, people, they're dangerous things. God is about saving this world, all of it. And if what is happening to you will exalt that purpose, he will allow it to happen. I'll say that again. God is about saving this world. He is about advancing his kingdom. He is about not losing anybody when the net of this time is done. He's about everybody. He does not care if you are uncomfortable. There was nobody in the Bible that was comfortable. Have you ever noticed that? Nobody's like, yeah, I definitely want to skip back to Egypt and get them Israelites. I think that sounds like a great idea. I think Moses said no to that like 3 times. Yeah, thanks, Jen. See, I look at my pastor friends. Tell me I'm saying it right. No one's comfortable. You know what the problem is for a lot of people today? They just want to be comfortable. They don't want to do the hard work of getting that stuff out of their soil. They just want to be comfortable. Comfortable in their yuck, for sure. So Job is a great example of this. Have you ever noticed that in the book of Job, most of the dialogue is his friends watching Job go through something difficult? Through Job's perseverance, God was glorified. And a few of those friends were brought into closer relationship and reverence for God. In Job's pain came an immense amount of wisdom. And you know what? A few thousand years later, we're still talking about that guy. Because here's the thing. If you declare yourself a Christian and people in your life know you're a Christian, they're watching you walk out your pain. Yeah. So my soil. So what's been in my soil? I've been betrayed, disappointed, challenged. I used to have panic attacks that were so bad I'd drive myself to the hospital in the middle of the night thinking I was dying. I think the first time I was suicidal, I was probably a late teen, probably. Stayed that way for a real long time. I've been on antidepressants more than once. I have struggled. I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. When they watch people up here, it's like you think that this confidence, which I'm really not as confident as I come off, just so you know, comes from some perfect life. I did not have a perfect life. And those of you who know me well know that there's not many things that people present to me in my office that I didn't have to walk out of myself. And if you didn't think that there wasn't a time that I was pretty mad at God that had to be my path, I really was. But then I figured it out. It's not about me. Because if you come in my office and I connect with you because I've been through that, it's not just because I learned it in a book, right? It's because I've been through it. I can help you better. My spirit connects with you better. And God's fine with me being uncomfortable. So I've prayed hard, I pressed in, I did all the right things, and then been blown away by devastated disappointment. Like that level of disappointment. When you are devastated and you think this time is gonna be the time that I'm not gonna put myself back together again. This time. But when you know you walked out into what God wanted you to do and it blew up, that thing that you prayed about and you were like, should I be doing this? And God's like, definitely, you need to do that. And you're like, okay, I'll do that. And then it blows up. And you're like, what? I've been there. People have disappointed me. Relationships have challenged me. But this is what I know. In that pain came so much wisdom. I learned and I learned and I learned because I asked God to teach me in that pain. I'm honestly the happiest I've ever been right now. I'm the most at peace. And you know what? It's not because much in my life has actually changed. Those disappointing relationships are still in my life. Many of those challenges are still in my life. But I'm now wise enough and mature enough to manage them without giving them power in my life. In pain comes wisdom, ladies. Also, you know what? I really like who I am now. I don't say that in a conceited way. Because I think if my kids ever came to me and said, Mom, you know what? I kind of like myself. I'd be like, yes, I did great as a parent. So I think when I look at God and I say, thank you, I like myself. He's like, that's right. I like you too. That's been one of the biggest changes. Honestly, there was liking yourself, having a good relationship with yourself. You can't give to other people what you first can't give to yourself. If you want to become a really good forgiver, start by forgiving yourself. If you want to give grace to other people, start by giving grace to yourself. You want to stop being so critical and judgmental of other people? Stop being so critical and judgmental of yourself. So all of those experiences made me who I am now. And I wouldn't want to change 1 minute of that journey. The pain that gives me wisdom lets me help other people. It's a really beautiful circle. So, the power of prayer. I love prayer. I tell people it's the best anti-anxiety medication out there. Prayer reminds me who is actually in control, and it's not me. Okay? You really don't have control over much of anything in this world. You get this 1 minute and how you respond to it. You have points of impact, but you don't have control. That's a whole other message, but it's true. We all have those people and situations in our life that we are praying God will change or intervene, right? That broken relationship, the kid who's off the rails, that spouse who is drinking alcohol or using drugs, the mean and angry man that you really just want to be nice to you because you love him. All of the broken things of this world that trap people. We pray and we ask God to change them. But God gave us something really mighty and really powerful. He gave us a self-will. This great, big, huge self-will that is our lifelong journey to harness and to discipline, to change our self-will to God's will through self-discipline, through action, through effort. When you're a child, you get to act like a child. When you grow up, you don't get to act like a child anymore. To change our self-will to God's will through self-discipline. For change to happen in our life or the life of anyone, they need to surrender their self-will and follow Jesus' plan for humanity. To forgive when it doesn't make sense, when the world tells you you have every reason to hate. Why forgive? Because God tells us to forgive. Why? Because otherwise it gets stuck in our soil. It makes it more difficult for him to plant new stuff in us. If you look at any miracle in the Bible, that person had to actively partner with God to make the miracle happen. The birth of Christ, Mary said, may it be done unto me according to your will. Miracle of the fishes. Jesus said, cast your nets on the other side of the boat. Do we all think it's because Jesus couldn't have just had the fish jump in the boat? Right? He said, partner with me. Put your nets over there. We have to surrender our self-will. So that person that you're praying for, God might be chasing them and smacking them and hitting them upside the head with every baseball bat he's got. And if that person doesn't want to change his self-will, it's not God who fails us. It's people who fail us. So you can pray for change, but the person involved needs to bend their self-will and partner with God for that change to happen. We usually want people to stop what they're doing because of how it makes us feel, how it impacts us, and that's normal and it's human. But the real peace comes when you change how you're responding to what that person is doing. You can't control anyone else. You really can't. So we want people, you stop what you're doing over there because of how it makes me feel. You're not in control of that person over there, unless you're like 3 years old, and then it's like by a thread, right? You're not. You are in control of how it impacts you, what you do with that. So, look at your soil. What's in there? What needs to leave? What needs to be added? You can't give to other people what you haven't given to yourself. You want to give people more grace? You have to give yourself more grace. You want to forgive other people? You got to give yourself more forgiveness. Your soil is the entire garden of where your life starts. We all think that life is out here, my peace, my calm, my happy. It's out here. And it comes from there, and then it comes to me, right? My kids are great, I'm happy. My job is fulfilling, I'm happy. All of these things out here, it's not. You truly can learn to be calm and peaceful and happy no matter what storm is raging around out here. So here's another thing that this parable makes me think of. Now, just so you know, I do know that God is the sower in the parable, okay? I do know that. I'm not that dumb, okay? But here's another change I've made. I am careful about who and what is scattering seeds in my mind. What my mind and spirit and soul are consuming. Who am I surrounding myself with? I intentionally surround myself with people I admire, people who inspire me, people who get me. I am not everyone's cup of tea. I say it all the time. I'm going to put it on coffee mugs one of these days and sell that because it's a coffee mug and tea. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, I say it all the time. But my people, they get me. They realize how insecure I can actually be. They are patient when I'm giving too much of myself to the broken world to remember their birthdays. They tell me I'm good when I need to be reminded. Sometimes we can't always choose our people. Sometimes we're stuck in difficult relationships. Coworkers, fellow church members, you don't get to pick them. Family, you don't get to pick them. And I just want to say one little side note, and you've only gotten one, so I'm really doing pretty good. I have never been able to find anyone who has a primary family relationship that's completely disconnected that ever really gets okay with that. Boundaries are good. Thinking what you need to have in that relationship, but if it's just completely disconnected, they'll come into my office and they'll be like, I haven't talked to my mom in 15 years, and it's still their thing. There's just some primary things there that are hard. So if your answer to a difficult relationship, sometimes ending it is good. I believe there's 3 states of relationship: acceptance, change, and end. We're either accepting something, asking somebody for change, and if they won't change, we either can accept it or end it. And I'm all about that. But when it comes to family, sometimes that just never settles right. Then I would tell you to look at some boundaries. These are the relationships that will challenge you to activate the way Jesus tells us to live, to forgive, to not gossip. Take a stance of seek to understand these difficult people in relationships. I'm a therapist. I hear a lot of hidden hurts. A lot of hidden hurts. There's a lot of stuff going on under the surface for most people who are acting in a way that's not always great. Seek to understand them, not judge them. Love them, even when it challenges you to grow to do so. I have learned and grown and gotten closer to God during the most difficult, painful relationships I have than when everything's smooth and sunny. And a lot of times, we do activities at church where we leave it at the cross kind of activities. I am now, honestly, I'm glad for some of those difficult times. I treasure some of those difficult times. I wouldn't give them away. I don't regret them. I don't want them to go away, because I learned so much. So don't always just push away those difficult things. Instead, look at them and say, how is this going to make me better? What do I need to learn here? Sometimes we got weeds, right? Sometimes we got to pull some weeds. You got to get rid of some weeds so the good stuff can grow. And that means change and effort and sometimes hard conversations. But have all that stuff in love, right? So how do we build a good garden? One that takes a seed easily and where everything good grows well. Limit your expectations. Practice acceptance and tolerance of others, especially those people in your life that are the hardest to love. We learn and grow the most in difficult relationships and in difficult seasons. We really have an opportunity to love well in our most difficult times. You get one garden, ladies. You get one life. You are the soil of your own life. You are choosing what is in there. You're choosing it every day when you wake up. The choices you make your life. Examine it, amend it, remove some stuff, but above all, go and grow something beautiful.